Hi and welcome to the channel. Now today's video is about this Marantz PM5005. Now I'm just looking for remote control because it comes from a remote, but we'll come to that in a minute. This came out in 2014 and this would be bottom of the range of the Marantz amps at the time. It's an integrated amp with a phono stage in it for the old turntable. And the reason I got this because I wanted to have a bit more of an idea of what maybe a bit more newer, because this would have been on for a few years. A bit more of a newer amp sounds compared to my old vintage amps I do on the channel, but I will be buying some more newer amp and hopefully get some a bit more newer than this even, just to give an idea of what they sound like, what the comparison is, because quite a few years have gone past. This is about 45, this is 50 years old, so quite a while, aging components, all that kind of stuff. What they sound like now to what they did back then. You know, is it still worth going out and getting one of these amplifiers, or is it best to get one of these newer ones? It's got all new components. Obviously spent all them years to perfect it, yet they keep coming out with different circuits. It's so many different circuits for an amplifier. You thought by these days they've perfected it and they've been pretty much one circuit for everything kind of thing. But anyway, we're going to compare all these as the video goes along. Maybe a bit of a long-winded video, but if you're interested in this amp or want a kind of an idea how they sound compared with this newish amp, you know, sounds to these old amps, then maybe stick around. Right, the reason I got it is, like I say, for that comparison, and also for the remote control, because I want an amp with a remote control, because the missus is getting a bit fed up me taking this or another amplifier downstairs to the old stereo when we're listening to on the TV, shall I say, for the old surround. Ain't surround, it's only two speakers. You know, she gets fed up me chatting. She don't want to keep bobbing up and down, turning the volume control and all that kind of stuff. I've got a little box that kind of does it as well. It doesn't turn the volume, just attenuates the input, but it's a fiddly control. She's not too happy about that. So she said, can't you just get an amp and just leave it here? You're not going to keep bobbing up and downstairs with it and all that stuff, and start moving the speakers around downstairs and all that stuff with the amp and swapping over amps. Can't we keep something a bit more simple for more of the time that I can use? So if I get this, got the remote, so that's going to keep her happy as well. So we're going to have a quick look inside actually. If we look inside, the first thing I notice is it's got a nice big transformer, which is great. Don't like these switch mode power supplies, not a great fan of them. I don't know what your thoughts on them, but like the old fashioned transformer. It's quite solidly built as well. It's got gold connectors at the back. I better take a picture of that and show you that. Not that it really matters, I don't think, these gold connectors, because when you actually look at it, even though it's saying solid gold obviously, but silver is the most conductive metal on earth. Then comes copper. Then comes gold, and it's a bit of a difference. I think silver's 105% for some reason, I've been reading in places. Copper's 100% conductivity, and when we go down to gold, obviously pure gold, and that's back down to 70. So I'm not sure. I know silver corrodes and all that kind of stuff, so, and gold doesn't, so maybe that's got something to do with it. But yeah, they put that on the back, make it all look nice, and the speaker terminals are fit, you know, reasonable, a bit flimsy, but they're okay. They're quite reasonable, chunky kind of speaker connections, so you shouldn't have any problems wiring up different speakers different ways there. So we're going to go on to the sound. Now this is rated at 40 watts a channel. Before we go on to that, this is rated 15, this is rated 15, and to be honest with you, where I'm slinging this volume control around here, I'm putting these exactly, well, this is a little bit weaker, this is not quite as powerful as this, even though it's 15 watts. They're pretty much just, you know, pretty much all in the same position. They seem all got the kind of bit more relaxed this area, but it's still got a reasonable amount of oomph to it in all of them. So you know, if I put one on then the other and said to you which is the most powerful, you probably wouldn't go for this one. You'd probably go, this is the one that's more powerful, but it sounds a little bit more beefy, a bit more powerful to me, this Sansui. So just that. So yeah, it's 40 watts, it's okay, it's going to drive your speakers in that. I've got a pair of little Wolfdale's 86 dB speakers and it drove them okay. No problem at all. So I think any speakers you're going to put it should drive them, because it's got, you know, it's got a reasonable output, it's got a reasonable bit of punch to it kind of thing, you know, a bit of boldness to it kind of thing. So you're going to be okay. It's not really a laid back kind of amplifier. That's it, you know, like sometimes you get. Okay, so let's get on to the sound now. I don't want to miss anything out. I'll just make sure I cover everything here, because I did do it earlier and I missed a few bits out. Right, the first thing you're going to notice about this sound is that it's kind of colorized. It's kind of colorized, I would have said, to the bottom eyes to the top eyes, and the bit of the top end of the mid-range kind of thing. It's kind of got that quite reasonable curve to it, quite a bold curve, I would have said to that, where the eyes just seem over-extenuated. They're a bit too high. If you've got a pair of speakers that are on the bright side, it's not going to go with this amplifier, not unless you really like your your listening to be like really high, like you really want to hear them eyes kind of thing. And it's not that it's got a really nice refined and detailed eye. It's a bit on the brash side as well, a bit on the edgy side. It's it's okay, but it hasn't got as good a resolution as this has. The eyes, it's not as crisp, it's not as nice as the eyes here. So I think over time it's got that kind of sheen to it as well. It's going to get on your nerves a little bit. Well, it got on my nerves anyway. So if we just go for a neutral sounding set of speakers, that's the way to go. Or maybe just get a pair of speakers a little bit rolled off. It's going to help it a little bit more, I think, as well. As for the mids, let's just go back to the eyes very quickly. So when it's a cymbal, or a splash cymbal or something like that, and you've got tss kind of thing, it's not got that tss, it kind of cuts off a little bit earlier than that, but it hasn't got that tss, it kind of cuts it up a little bit. It's kind of a little bit brash on the brash side there. So when you compare it to this, it's got nice smooth and it goes on nicely, and each tone kind of like it kind of wavers down nice into the slope kind of thing. Here it's a bit more jagged into that, if you can kind of imagine. It just cuts off a little bit before that. So they're okay, nothing fantastic, but they're okay. I suppose for an entry-level amplifier back then, it's okay, but 50 years earlier, for an entry-level model, they've done it much better for some reason. Why is that? What I mean? It seems a bit weird. Now, it's like, say, the mids, they've got that kind of like, it's a bit colorized. It's hard to really, they're extenuated, they're a bit on the bold side, kind of push forward, and they just seem to be slightly off key, if you know what I mean. If you can kind of like, you just want to come down a little bit really key wise. I don't know when you go 1 octave, 2 octave and all that, but it just seems like it's half an octave too high or something like that. It doesn't sound as smooth and as luxurious. Not this, just don't get carried away. I'm not saying this is this is the last word in smooth and luxurious, but when you compare it to this is like got a smooth and luxurious kind of pure sound to the vocals. Well, this hasn't, this hasn't, it just doesn't quite, it's got that, it doesn't quite sound right to me, not as good as it could be, even for a budget level amplifier, because it's got that that colorization to it, that bump into it kind of thing. They kind of kink that up a bit there. Where it kind of works, because I've had the 2216 receiver, and I think they're trying to do something like that there on that Marantz receiver, and some of the Marantz stuff anyway, and it sounds better, they do it much better than they do here. So that's that, so a bit disappointed with that. We go down to the bass. The bass wasn't too bad. It's not the last word in bass definition, but it was okay, did a pretty good job. It's got a reasonable amount of bass to it. It hasn't got as much bass as this has got, and it's probably got a little bit more bass than that's got. So the bass wasn't too bad, it was okay. You could follow it around and all that kind of stuff. It's not one noted, but it hasn't got. It's got a reasonable pattern, but not a lot. There's not as much definition as this has got, and this as well. It's got a bit more definition in the bass than that. But overall, the soundstage was pretty good, really. When you consider it, when I'm talking about in between speakers, it seems to place the instruments, the person singing, all that kind of stuff in the right place. It keeps it nice and solid, so it does a really good job there. That's where it does. Kind of like, that's one of its best parts of it, kind of thing. It does do a good job there. It hasn't got hasn't got a lot of depth to it, and it's got a bit of three-dimensional to it. It's got a little bit of airiness to it, but nowhere near as a dimension, the airiness as this has got, kind of thing. Even though this is more like a valvey kind of sound compared to this. This is definitely, I've read somewhere said, oh, I'm glad I've got my record player connected up. I've got that nice analog sound. I don't think you've got an analog sound with this. You've got more of a as Stereo Reviex would probably say, that you've got more of a transistor, not this Mercedes Disc but he kind of says it's more of a transistor-y sound, and that's probably what I'm getting here. And like that top end's got to say, it's got that kind of sheen to it, which could kind of get on your nerves, kind of thing. I think if you've got a little bit of on the bright side spare of speakers, if you've got a bit of a duller sounding speakers, you're probably going to get away with it. So it was okay. It weren't too bad, but it was okay. But anyway, going back to that sound stage, yeah, it's not got that airiness as much as this has got. It's still got a bit, nice placement in between the speakers, not a great deal of depth to it, kind of thing, putting the people behind each other, kind of thing. It was okay in that respect, but whether this here has got, like I say, it's got more space around the instruments. This is more defined around the instruments. It's got that space, like separating one instrument from the other, and they seem like they've got a bit of room. They're not all clustered up. They've got room, and it's some kind of air, not doing anything in between, kind of thing. The instruments in there, it's just more refined. It's just got a better sounding sound this has than this. You're going to notice the clarity. You're going to, like I say, you're going to notice that space really kind of it's out around the instruments when you compare it to this. So this is okay. It's yeah, for the money it's okay. Oh, mustn't forget, that's what I forgot in the other video, the phono stage. And I've got to mention the headphone as well. Yeah, the phono stage wasn't too bad. It was quite nice, you know what I mean. Kind of kept, it's got a reasonable phono stage on it, I would have said. It keeps in, it doesn't get rid of that top end sheen or that top end being too high, or then mids to mid highs kind of being bumped up a bit kind of thing. Emphasise, should I say, that's the word I'm really looking for, emphasise. This has got more of an kind of like holographic, that's the word, holographic kind of sound staging to it, or definitely holographic compared to this sound stage. And overall, you know what I mean, if you're going to go and buy one of these, oh, headphone socket, mustn't forget the headphone socket. For some reason, I think the headphone socket's wired up to the speakers here with a 330 ohm resistor, as most of them are. Quite a complicated diagram on this, and I was trying to follow it around, but I think that is the case. I may be wrong, but for some reason, the couple of pair of headphones I got, it's really bassy. The bass is really emphasised for some reason on this headphone socket. Maybe just been my headphones not quite matching up. So yeah, may have to. I did see another review actually. Someone did say the headphones were a bit too bassy, a bit muddy, a bit bassy. So they weren't for me. I wouldn't be. It's more like a boom 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 kind of thing, and nothing in between really on the headphones. Not much in between, should I say. Yeah, so I won't be listening to through headphones, that's for certain. Not me. It wouldn't be my amplifier to listen to through headphones. So yeah, so we go back now to what we paid. I paid £120 box. You're going to pick this up for about £120. You're going to pick this up in the UK for about £100. For some reason in the US this sells for about $250. Obviously got more of a following there, but it's the models up. This is a 1030, it's a 1060 and 1090. I think that's probably more regarded than this amplifier here, but I brought it here because it's the budget in the range. This is a Sansui 101, I forgot to mention that as well. So this comes out first by quite a margin, this comes out second, and this comes out third. My missus wants this downstairs, which I'm pleased, because I definitely don't want it upstairs. It's not for me, but it may suit some people. Like, you know what I mean, I'm not one of these. I like hearing top highs and tinny and all that kind of stuff, and like a little tinkle here and there and whatever, but I want it to be some resolution to it, some clarity to it. I don't want it a bit mushy and all that kind of stuff, which like I say, this is a little bit on the arse side for me. So it's okay, you know what I mean, it's okay if you want this, you want the remote, and it's okay. If you want to put your foot on the very first step of the HiFi ladder, you've got a TV set up, speakers, or you've got a little one of these music centres kind of thing, and you want to put your step on the first step of the HiFi ladder. I don't want to be like blunt about it, but this is where this sits, to me anyway, on the first step. Though it does get some good reviews. On the first step, when I compare it to what I've got, this sits on the first step. These probably go up to step 4. You know what I mean, 4 or 5, or this one definitely, this is probably step 3, something like this. It's 4 or 5 on that step kind of thing. And when you compare, when I can kind of compare it in my mind, if we had a 20-step ladder, that system I looked at earlier, when I went down to see Kevin at his shop there, well, his shop where he works, should I say, and now I listened to a £4,000 system. That's on step 18, you know what I mean. It's going to be maybe just a couple of notches above it. You're going to pay more money, or something similar price. You may just get a little bit more out of. But that'll be on 17 or 18 when you compare it to this. This is right down the bottom, that's quite at the top. And this is creeping its way up that ladder, definitely. And it may even be higher. I mean, when I'm doing a 20-step ladder, this is probably, you know, this is probably coming in at maybe 6 or 7, something like that. Someone did ask me, you know, what was the difference between that £4,000 system and this? How many times better? Was it 10 times better kind of thing? It's hard to kind of put, you know, resolution, clarity and kind of thing in context without actually seeing it. You know, if you could actually see it rather than hear it, how can you kind of define that thing? But you know, it's definitely 4 or 5 times better than what these sound. It's really hard, like I say, it's really the electric in the air that kind of caught me the most. It had obviously extra detail, extra clarity, that kind of stuff, space and all that kind of stuff, but it was just that electric air kind of itcher kind of thing when you first hear it kind of thing with that system. And obviously it probably fizzled out a bit over time, as everything else does. And like when you plug this in, when I first got it, I thought that don't sound too bad. I think that was mainly because you know, when you go and buy stuff off of eBay, etc., first of all, you want to make sure you're hoping both channels work. It works, let's hope it works. So once you get that first stage, it works, you think, well, that's good, it works, that sounds not too bad. But when you actually sit down and start listening to it, it doesn't take too long for all them cracks to appear. And there is quite a few cracks in this amplifier, I think, in different respects. But there you go, it is what it is. it's quite engaging. One other thing, it is reasonably engaging, you know what I mean? Maybe compared to that, even though it's got miles better resolution, it's more clarity, all that kind of stuff. That Audio Labs 8000 I had, it's just a different league, you know what I mean? It's miles better than this. But it got a little bit, for me, it was just a bit mundane. It was just a little, you know, over time. You could listen to it for an hour or so, but over time, I'll get a little bit bored of it. It's not getting me involved, and you want to be involved kind of thing. Right, though, sometimes if you want to sit down and just completely relax and chill right out, it's probably going to suit you. But then again, I want to get involved. I want to feel the kind of music, all that kind of stuff. I want to feel the bass. I want to do all that kind of stuff. And that's where this kicks in. The other Sansui is the 317, the 331. They're all, you know, they're all going to give you that kind of sound that I'm looking for. So that's my personal sound. You know, when you talk to people or you look on forums, everyone, you know, when you look at it, everyone's got their different HiFi. They've all got different systems, they've all got different speakers, they've all got different setups, and every single one of them, that's the best one to get, because it's their own choice. That's what they like. So for them, that's the best one, and that's correct. But for someone else, it may not be. That's maybe what's happening here as well. But it isn't for me, definitely. I'm looking at it more of a critical kind of view than some people would, because you read the reviews and plenty of people give this 5 out of 5. They've cleaned up this speaker, that speaker, and everything else, and they love it. Like, you know what I mean? But maybe they're not. Maybe you know, giving more of a critical eye over it, or critical listen, should I say, than I am. That they're pleased with it, and that's the case. That's excellent. It's done its job, and they're happy. You know what I mean? So they're getting the enjoyment out of the movement, the music. They're getting the enjoyment out of the music, and that's what it's all about. So when you look at these forums, everyone's got the best system. You know what I mean? Everyone's got a different system, but it's the best system. So you know, you think to yourself, it probably ain't going to be all right in my, you know, in my eyes. If you put all them systems around here, I'm going to pick some bones and say, oh, that's crap and that's no good and this and that and whatever. It's all about the system you like. Okay, I wandered on a bit too much again as usual. Anyway, that's it. So you know, 120 quid maybe if you're going to go and buy one. It's okay, it's getting you on the run, but I'd seriously look. I know this can have faults, you know what I mean? This has got a couple of faults. One of the channel cuts out left to right, and that's normally, when I've been reading about it, down to the connections inside, the little connection cables where they clip in. Particularly one at the front. You have to take this front off, and there's one at the front of the tone board, and you may have to clean that, or it could be the actual volume pot going open circuit. It's a motorised volume, it does go open circuit, so there's a couple of little faults there. These can have noisy transistors, so I've been pretty lucky with this is there's no noisy transistors. So just a couple of things to look out for. Obviously if you're buying something really old, it's prone to go wrong, but then again, so something newish, people had this a year, 2 years and saying, oh, it's conked out already. So, you know, to me, for the same price, you've definitely got to go and buy one of these two compared to that. Again, my particular view. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there, and we'll be talking here till next Christmas. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.